Well, hello there, episode 30. I can hardly believe it. I hope that my sound is okay. I actually just got off of my mastermind call with my mastermind ladies, and I was trying to use my podcast mic. And y'all, it was like not, I don't know, that it kept going in and out. So remember last time when I recorded a bunch of stuff and it actually wasn't recording the sound? So I'm just hoping that everything is recording as it should be right now because episode 30 is one that you do not want to miss. Today we are talking about your actions tell the story. So, if you are new around here, I am your host, Amberly Devers. I am a life and business coach for Christian life coaches. What is a Christian life coach? Is a Christian coach who coaches in an area of life. If that is you, I am so glad you are here. And if it is not you, I am so glad that you are here. So, let's talk a little bit about your actions telling the story. Do you know? Well, let me start over, or not start over, but let me rephrase that. When I say your actions tell the story, I should have probably titled it Your Failures Tell the Story. As a matter of fact, I'm doing that right now. I am renaming this episode Your Failures Tell the Story. Do you know how many things I've tried and failed and have felt like a failure? Do you know how many of those things I would be like all fired up about 1 minute and then I didn't want to do the next minute? To me, failing, when I think about failing for me, that actually isn't really associated with a thing I do or don't do. It's really more associated with a way that I feel from failure, embarrassed, rejected, inadequate, or like an imposter. That is things, those are things, I should say, that make me feel like a failure. That's what failing feels like to me. Failing, one of my primary emotions when it comes to failing is embarrassment and rejection. So when it comes to my business, what does failing mean? What does failure feel like? Almost all of it. From photo shoots to live video to sending weekly emails to sales sequences, from paid advertising to podcasting, from literally probably not having some of those little bloopers I just made edited out, right? From explaining to my family and friends what I actually do to continually stepping out and doing something new, trying something new, right? Offering something in a new way. Your actions, your failures will tell the story, as will your inaction and your lack of failures. Your inactions and your actions tell the story of what you really want, the story of what you're willing and not willing to do, and those things that might cause you to feel embarrassed or rejected or inadequate or like a failure. If you're willing to do those things, and for you, the feelings may not be embarrassment or rejection or inadequacy. They're probably some other type of emotion. Almost 70 people I work with, these are pretty similar, but you might be a different unicorn, and we welcome you to our feelings of embarrassment and rejection and inadequacy and like an imposter. Oh, this big thing is happening in my life. I can't show up as a coach. I don't have what it takes, right? So here's the thing. Feeling like a failure is actually part of the story. And being willing to fail is part of the story. And what I would really like to offer you today is that failing is the actual story. So, we are going to talk a little bit about that today as it relates to a couple things. Oh, and I want to let you know, y'all, when you leave a review, please leave a review. My podcast producer tells me I'm supposed to say that to you. And I'm like, oh, if people want to leave a review, they will. But I'm like, oh, actually, no. I would love for you to leave a review because it actually really helps me and it helps the podcast. And the podcast, as you know, has not been my primary area of focus, although I love just coming and sharing and just encouraging you and offering you new ways of thinking about things and just helping you in whatever ways that I can here in this space. And so I do get messages. I got one this weekend that said, I just wanted to let you know that I've been painting all afternoon with your voice and wisdom in my ears, listening to the podcast episode after episode, and it's so good. Kissy emoji, praying hands emoji, heart emoji. And so that reminded me, I should just say, oh my gosh, I love it when you send those to me. Please continue to. And if you would even take the time to leave a review here in the podcast, that would actually be so, so helpful. And you know what else it reminds me of that I want it to remind you of as well? Is that it reminds me that all of my failing that I come here and do each week and share about over the last, 3 and 4 and 5 years in my businesses is, and it has been, and it will continue to be worth it for messages like that. And so what that means is that your failures are and have been and will also continue to be worth it. So what I say is, here's to failing together and changing the world of Christian impact and dreams through life coaching in the process. I am so, so happy that you're here today. I do want to let you know that the Christian Life Coach Academy is currently closed for enrollment and will reopen soon in November. So I'm going to actually leave you a wait list here to put your name on because you will have priority enrollment. Additionally, I am enrolling. I don't even know if I should say this because I think that I only have 3 remaining spots available for the mastermind that will begin in October and go through the end of October and go through January. And so the mastermind is just a small container of one-on-one coaching from me and meeting together weekly with your peers to coach you on anything. Most recently, today we had coaching, and it is just a level of coaching and, for lack of a better term, like intimacy and vulnerability that doesn't take place in my group coaching program, and it takes place in this small group coaching one-on-one container. And it is like seriously such a steal. I didn't raise my prices this round because this container is still growing. I'll be honest. I have my highest, I believe, no, yes, all but one top earners in this container, as well as people who have not yet started their business and are just working on posting on social media. Because here's the thing you need to know about every container that you are in. You will be in a coaching container with other women who have a brain. And so we all work together no matter where we are in our businesses. We show up humbly and helping one another see where our thoughts are holding us back and what we are wanting to do and create in our coaching businesses. So it is literally like fire. So you can actually go to the link in my bio and go ahead and fill out the application if this is something you're interested in. Like I said, it's basically a 90-day accelerator where you can come and take your business to the next level in 90 days, no matter where the level is that you're beginning. Okay. So it is truly upper level coaching. I've told some people they have to slow down. I don't say you have to, but I've encouraged them to slow down. This is where your work is. Where others' work is to speed up. So you get coached exactly where you are in the needs of your business, whether you have a one-on-one coaching container, a group coaching container, you're launching something new. This is where I really do the work. If you're doing, webinars and really looking at data in your business, that is the place for you. Or not doing webinars, but if that is something you're looking into doing, that's the container for you. As well as if you want to speak and ask me things one-on-one, that is the place for you because you have one-on-one Voxer access, which has been incredible for the ladies who just finished or who are finishing up the last few weeks of the current mastermind. So much so that over 50% of them have renewed. So there is not a ton of availability, but if you click on the link and the application's there, I will let you know if there is still room for this round of the mastermind, or you will have top priority for the round that will begin in end of January, early February. So like I said, yes, there are 2 different ways to work with me. One is through the Christian Life Coach Academy, which is closed for enrollment and will be reopening in November. You may put your name on the wait list for that. Or the Christian Life Coach Academy, Christian Life Coach Mastermind 90-day accelerator that I am accepting applications for now, and we will begin at the end of October. Whew! Did I get everything out? That felt like a mouthful. I hope you could follow me there. With that said, I want to talk a little bit about failures in your business. I am not going to go into all of the failures in my business today, but my failures are why I am in business today. I did a reel on this recently, and it starts off saying, well, like, what if I fail? Right? That's the biggest question we have is, what if I fail? To which I say and believe that if you fail, you've already won. And the reason that you've already won is because you tried in the first place. There are so many women, y'all, coaches, who are literally so afraid of failing that they don't even try. They don't even put themselves out there. And I am here as an example, as an inspiration of not succeeding my way here, but truly failing my way here. And it's interesting because I was thinking about this podcast and my next podcast from a volleyball tournament of my youngest a couple weeks ago. And it's funny, I get these like podcast ideas from real life things. I'm actually working on a podcast that's going to be, marketing. Oh, what was I going to name it? I can't remember, but it's basically just like marketing examples from life in the country. And as it relates to like positioning and putting your offer out there and how you can truly build a business by just letting people know what you do right where you are. That one is going to be coming. And that might even include like country church signs. I just saw another one, a good one the other day. I didn't take a picture of it, but man, I tell you what, country knows how to do it, y'all. Okay, so what I'm talking about as it relates to failure, it doesn't completely tie in to your actions and your inactions, but it really is just kind of a real life story that I just want to briefly share with you as it relates to my youngest daughter who is playing volleyball for the school on the middle school team for the first time this year. And y'all, my husband Bray, he posted something on his personal account, which is just another story in of itself. I cannot even believe I just said his personal account. It was supposed to just be like an account of our barn dominium build, and it has turned into like his account, and he spends a lot of time on there. And I'm like, hello, it's taking up a lot of your time. And he's like sending me a ton of stuff. He's like the like geriatric email forwarder. You've got those people in your life. I think they finally have stopped. My dad still sends them sometimes, but it's like Instagram version. They like send you tons of things and you're just like, oh, please stop. Unless they're really funny. My cousin sends me really funny things like TikToks that just like describe our childhood. The most recent one was, should I post it here in the show notes? The most recent one was a man, an quite older man, on a pontoon boat with cut off jean shorts and some sort of like cut off tank top sleeveless thing. And he's like dancing by himself to Clarence Carter's Strokin'. If you ever want to know my childhood, it's all right there. So I'll just post that just for your benefit. And so like send me stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that feels like childhood trauma. And I will laugh my head off. And my cousin, we speak that same language. And so she'll send me all the funny things. Bray sends me some funny things. And then some things are like hints, if you know what I mean. I'm like, oh, that's not funny. Why is that even in your feed? That's the biggest question, because your feed follows you. The algorithm tells the story of what you're looking at and watching and interested in. That's another day, another podcast. Anyway, so back to volleyball and my youngest. She's on the middle school team, and they all got signed up for like a tournament. And like I did tournaments with Emmeline when we were in Atlanta, and that's when I realized, this is what I was meaning when I was talking about what Bray was posting on his social media account, is like, I didn't know, y'all. I didn't know, like, we used to see a lot of things like soccer mom stickers and magnets. And I'm like, oh, I am not that person, except I'm apparently a volleyball mom. Now, my athleticism goes back to only I played t-ball in second grade and I broke my foot after like the first practice, not at t-ball, running around my house and broke my foot. So I think I came in for the very last game. That was my t-ball career, and that was pretty much my athletic career. I think I had a stint, or should I say stunt, pun intended, in gymnastics as like, oh, maybe that was when I was like about to try out for cheerleading, and they were like, you need to like have some kind of gymnastics in your life, and I was like, well, I don't. So my mom drove me forever away. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Dee Dee. I'm sorry I made you do that. And I was like really terrible. I never got that back handspring down, but I still made the cheerleading squad because I was at a small school, and I don't know, maybe it was politics, maybe they just needed somebody else on the team. I don't really know how I made it, but I lettered in cheerleading. Whoops, foreshadowing. I lettered in cheerleading. Did I cheer my senior and junior year or just my senior year? I don't know, but I lettered in cheerleading. I shouldn't have. I was terrible. I'm like, now I know parents, because I am one now, that like cheers for the child that's really not athletic, but they're out there doing it. And guess what, child? When you're 44, you'll be doing big things. So, it just takes time sometimes. But cheerleading was not the big thing. And then I went on to letter in tennis somehow. I don't know how, except like I said, it was a small school and it was like a participation lettering. And I still to this day do not actually know how to play the game of tennis or how to keep score. And that does have a point. And the point is, I can tell you a lot about volleyball. And I love volleyball. I mean, I don't want to hit the ball because it hurts my forearms and I can't really get it anywhere. But I know a lot about volleyball. And I love volleyball. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love volleyball. Like, I'll know if I'm really in a depression. Because right now I don't love a lot of things about my real life because it is like, it takes me like 3 hours of mental cognition at night to figure out the coordination of the next day. I'm not even kidding, y'all. But volleyball doesn't feel like that. I'm like, get me to the volleyball court and just let me watch. I will watch college volleyball. I will like go to our town has a college and I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all, the volleyball, they're playing volleyball. We're going to like find some games to go to. I will pay to watch those games. I will sit and watch volleyball on TV and won't even know who's playing and just love it. It's really, really weird. I will know that maybe I'm in a depression if I am not enjoying volleyball. That might be the scale of which to judge how my life's doing, how depression might be going. But anyway, I feel like I'm just like spending literally. I'm trying to time myself on this podcast because, by the way, we have a volleyball game that I'm headed to, and this airs tomorrow. And Lainey is like, so about the podcast, I thought you were going to be getting ahead. I'm clearly not, Lainey. Thank you for loving me though and doing this. I feel so sad about that. That's not what I want to do to somebody else's business, but I'm going to get there. And by the way, let's acknowledge that I was there a few times over the last 30 episodes where I was ahead of the game. I'm going to get there. I'm working on it. I might even do it this week. Anyway, so the moral of the story here is when it comes to your failures, first of all, they're going to happen. And it's not always about winning the game because our girls, they did a tournament. They don't do tournaments through school. We obviously have regular seasons of playing local Christian schools in the area. And by local, some of them are an hour away because we're in the country. And people around here, if you're listening, you're like, Amberly, this is not the country. I'm like, oh, this is the country, people. This is the country. I thought the country was going to be a lot like slower paced. And newsflash, it's not. But maybe that's just 5 kids on 5 different sports teams. Anyway. So they were kind of in leagues and playing people that they were really like not matched for because we signed up for the tournament late and it is what it is. But it gave them some great lessons in failure and it really had them rise to the occasion, y'all, just by, oh gosh, there's an actual term for it. It's called serve returning, I believe. Don't quote me on my volleyball terminology right now, but it's basically just like they got so much better just at returning serves, y'all. So they enhanced their skills by not winning and by failing, if you will. But they showed up. And like it literally like makes me have tears in my eyes because I wouldn't have done it. I was scared watching some of these spikes and some of these serves and some of these players. And especially as it related to our 6th graders, y'all, because here, technically you can play on a middle school team if you're in eighth grade, and you can be 15 in the eighth grade. So you're playing 11-year-olds, and this is their first year playing. Some of them, like literally, they've practiced the game of volleyball for 2 weeks because they went out for the team and are on the team. And here they are. And so y'all, if you are a volleyball mom and you've been at volleyball tournaments, like you're like pumped up for like that first round, but then if you don't start winning and then you've got to keep playing and then you're running out of snacks and you've bought all the food and the food's running out at the concessions, it's like a whole world. So like by day 2, we were like, okay, let's just go and win and come home, except the middle school team won. Now, they didn't win the playoffs, y'all, but it felt like they did because they won. And like we were all kind of exhausted and delirious by then. I actually had a migraine that had me in the bed the next day. That's how bad this migraine was. And I was like, oh my gosh, the girls, they were technically, that we played, were technically qualified for middle school, but there were some freshmen in high school on this team. If you've seen my 11-year-old, she's like I was, like teeny tiny. Like I was super short. I'm only 5'4" now. And so we saw their eyeballs get big. And so I want true confession here. I told a little bit of a lie, and I went and I told the girls, I was like, hey, don't be worried about how tall they are and that they're bigger than you and they look older than you. I watched them play and they were kind of terrible. So don't worry about that. And like, y'all, sometimes when you're failing your way in your business, failure after failure, and by failure means like sometimes you're just putting out a social media post and people are going to be like, who does she think she is? She has her life all together. And you're like so worried about these judgments. And I want to be able to tell you that, like, oh, that's just a thought in your head. That's not true. But the fact of the matter is, people will think terrible things about you and say them to you on social media. It happens to me all the time. And so, what I just want to offer is that you just hold space for other human beings to have the thoughts about you that they have, because those are not actually true unless you allow them to be true. There's actually a volleyball lesson for another child on the team that's not my child, and I actually sent her those very words. Because believe it or not, there's a Christian parent on the team saying terrible things about this child, this player, with her mom sitting right there. And I'm just like, hey, guess what? Whatever he says about you or anyone for that matter isn't true unless you allow it to be, unless you believe it to be. You get to decide the thoughts you think about yourself. And that can happen when you're 11, and that can happen when you're 78, because I have women in the academy who are 78. You still get to decide the thoughts that are true about you, whether they come from your mouth or someone else's. And so I told the girls a little lie. I felt like it was an okay lie. Just not to worry about it. They didn't play all that well. And then I was like, we got to get some energy. So my lettering of cheerleading from 1996 came out in full effect, and we started making shakers. Do you know how annoying coins are in a water bottle? Except not with these little girls. Y'all, I was pulling out the get fired up. Get fired up. Boom, 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 boom. Get fired up. I had the other moms that would participate cheering. We were standing, we were stomping on those bleachers after every point. Do y'all know what happens when you mix belief and desire and encouragement and support for yourself while you're failing? A completely different, pun intended, ball game of your business. Because that's what I watched this group of sixth graders. I think there's 9 girls on the team. 7 are in 6th grade. 2 are in 7th grade. And not only did they not get completely slaughtered by where they should have, honestly, they actually barely lost. It was so victorious. I'm getting tears in my eyes. I was texting with another mom friend on the team. Oh, because then I went home, y'all, and got in bed and ordered like all the fun stuff for these girls, because I'm like, I don't care if you don't win a game this season. Actually, I do care. The varsity, the girls, they better be winning. The JV and the varsity, they better be winning. We lost a 3-hour match Friday night by 2 points. But anyway, I got them some Mike and Ike's, except I titled them with a Sharpie, Mike and Spike. And I've ordered them all sorts of things. Like every week, I'm like, here's what's happening. The other moms have now elected me cheer captain. And it's just to remind you that there's a lot of belief and encouragement that you can offer yourself along the way of your failures, because that actually makes your failures have their own wins. These girls did not win. I mean, just point that out there. They didn't lose by a ton. And I do believe that it was from the cheering and from the shakers and from the get fired up and from the SIDEOUT side out. All of it, y'all. We did that for like 2 hours. And do you know what happened at the end of the game? That they failed. They didn't win. They were actually able to look back at all the failures of lessons, of growth, of momentum, of returning serves, of scoring points. And most of all, they had so much fun along the way and were so happy at the end of the game that they actually had scored as many points as they had, that it didn't feel like a loss. And so that's what I want you to take away today is how can your failures, because you will have them in many different ways. We didn't even get into that today. But how do you make your failures not feel like a loss? That's the name of the game. That's the moral of the story. Because if you're not willing to fail, then you actually won't have what you desire as it relates to your business. Your clients won't receive the results that your impact could be making if you're not willing to get out there and fail, feel embarrassed, feel rejected, feel silly, feel dumb, feel inadequate, feel like an imposter, like you're 11 playing a 15-year-old who has more experience, height, and skill and all the things than you. But how can you get out there so that your failures don't feel like a loss? Okay? And what action will you take to fail? Because it's actually the inaction that's the failure, because inaction will get you nowhere. Action in failure, when you don't look at it as loss, is how you're going to get exactly where you want to go in your business, coaching clients that you have been created to work with and make a difference in because of who God has created you to be. So go out and be her and fail a bunch along the way, which is what I've done. And that's why I'm here. I hope you have a great day. Bye.